It's time for the Revolution in the Morning show, live from Franklin County, Virginia. I'm your host, Mitchell Buck. Come on down and join us on Revolution Radio and Rumble.com. Also simulcasting today over on YouTube. I hope YouTube and Locals.com. I just got a notice that the whatchamacallit had failed over on Facebook, and I'm really not that worried about streaming to Facebook, so yeah. Hope y'all are doing good. God bless y'all, man. Woo. We'll click in and see all the notifications wherever they're coming from. So evidently Dave and Dave's here, and Flippy, and Driver Dan, everybody kind of piling in here and getting ready to start the show. Oh yeah, we got more stupid on stupid, and you know, I had a conspiratorial question that you might well, I don't know. We'll talk about it here in a few minutes. We get Rev Radio to catch up to us. Looks like we got about 30 seconds, excuse me, until we get over to we're live on Revolution.radio. Come on down there. Lots of different hosts. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm talking over the break on Rev Radio. God, man. Anyway, I hope y'all are doing well. God bless you. All right, there we are. We're live now, finally, everywhere, all around the table. We always have to kind of wait a minute or so for a Revolution Radio, Revolution.radio, freedomslips.net, freedomslips.org, and then freedomslips.radio. Okay. But anyway, come on down and join us and get the straight truth. Lots of great hosts over on Revolution Radio. I kind of, I talk a lot of different crap, so I spread it all over. And the world needs fertilizer to counteract all of the acidic rain and the disgust that we see coming from the mainstream media. Anyway, what do we got going on here today? Of course, the war in Iran in its 10th day. I think something like that. But actually, you know, it's been since 1978. The CIA and the war and everybody else, you know, fighting amongst themselves. Yeah, it's a hell of a funky thing. But anyway, so there was, let's just say, that the bombing has expanded, and that Iran Iran has two ships sailing from China with chemicals to make rockets and stuff. Now, the question is, you know, will the U.S. just track them until they hit the port there in Iran and then blow them up while they're in the water? Okay? Acid rain and contamination, everything falling in from the massive fires at oil storage facilities in Iran. There was also a clip. I thought I saved that clip, but I don't see it here. Okay. But there was a clip of some unusual flashes and lights and during the bombing. Okay. In Iran just yesterday. Okay. Now I have theorized, or I already know that the Israelis have miniature nuclear weapons. Okay, listen, everybody wants to think about the size of Hiroshima or Nagasaki, as being, like the bottom line, the base for nuclear weapons. Okay, well, it's not. Okay, I'm just saying that it's not. Okay. And that because they're already trying to bomb and destroy Iran's nuclear materials, they know that there is going to be nuclear material there. All right. Well, they actually know that Iran has enough material to make 11 nuclear warheads that are, I guess they would be like a lower yield because they're only 60% enriched uraniums. 235s, I think, is what they're doing. But the truth is, you've got Iran that told, this is what they told, this is what Iran told the U.S. negotiator Witkoff in the middle of negotiations. Now, what happened, I think, was in the midst of these negotiations, Iran said, "Look, we have this. We can make it now," and and I think the Americans, actually, I think the Israelis, because let's be honest, this is not an American war. This is an Israeli war of superiority over Iran. Okay, and further, what would you want to call it? Further degradation of powers in that region that might be able to partly stand up to Iran. Okay. Now remember, Iran had originally helped fund the PLO, Palestinian Liberation Organization. Remember, the Israelis helped and set up Hamas as a counterbalance to. So look and understand that everything you see in the Middle East is so confusing, and is so much corruption, and spy versus spy, Mossad versus Mossad. In fact, it was said that the one of the Mossad chief was assassinated in Israel the other day. I don't know if that's true. Okay, what I do know is that Israelis have never had bombs literally falling the way they have within their territory. So yeah, now Donald Trump is now calling for a quick resolution of the conflict with Iran. Okay. Yesterday or the day before yesterday, Russia made it 100% clear that they were an ally of Iran and that they would not let Iran fall and that they would stand with, they're standing with Iran. Okay. Now I haven't heard those words from China. China has said that, well, we're neutral in this thing. And I don't know if China can be neutral. Okay, they're trying to walk both sides of the fence, and they're not going to be able to do it. At least the leaders of India have told the United States that, look, we don't need your permission to trade with other countries in the world, and that includes oil. But I kind of, I had this, I don't know. I believe that miniaturized tactical nuclear weapons. I mean, real tactical nuclear weapons. Tactical nuclear weapons that are designed to take out just a square city block. Okay? Or more likely, made like a shape charge. If you know much or if you understand explosives, you can form the um, dynamite, the syntax, whatever you use. You can make it a certain form, and you can cause it like a blast pattern. You can do the same thing, evidently, with nuclear weapons. Okay, because they have them that they focus energy in and puncture half a mile underground. Okay, and then they bomb into that crater or whatever they do. Okay, so well, I guess what I'm trying to point out, all right, is that Israel for a long time has had these miniature nuclear weapons. We don't perceive them, we don't use them. However, it's my belief that recently the Trump administration and the CIA and the Mossad and all their kissing lovers and brothers with Israel have brought that program to the United States, and that these were the explosions that were being heard underground basically at one of our underground nuclear facilities. Now, these things might even seem to be only as powerful as maybe a nuclear trigger or more. I'm just saying. The main thing is the electromagnetic pulse and the power that they put out. So anyway, we have to understand that this stuff is rapidly changing. Okay. The any peace agreement or anything about Ukraine has literally gone, blown out the backside of reality. Okay, it's not realistically possible. First off, because Zelensky says, well, the people don't want to give up the Donbass region, and that he's basically saying, look, the Azov Nazi battalion peoples, they will kill me. That's basically the bottom line of it. Okay. Anyway, so yeah. Man. Really, the United States, the Department of Justice, and the FBI have evidently they have abandoned any attempt to get justice in the Epstein files. Okay, for all the women that were raped and molested and groomed and everything else. Okay, there are still women that don't even understand what happened because they think that that's just how sugar daddies are. Okay, if that makes any sense. But there is a supposed search of the ranch on and Jeffrey Epstein's estate in former estate in New Mexico, where it's alleged that two girls from Europe that were brought in were essentially, I don't know if it was snuff murder or they just died from super rough sex. Okay. Maybe they were into that neurotic asphyxiation. Like the carotene guy. I mean, you die with hookers choking you to death over your money. After anyway. Wow, crazy stuff, man, I'm telling you. Coming out of New York, just great news. Great news. New York Millionaires Club says they are more than happy to pay higher taxes under Mandami. Ah, what a great joke. What a great joke. Meanwhile, of course, the terrorist attack or attempted terrorist attack or retards in action, you can take your pick. I mean, really, it's, it's bananas, is what I'll say. It's bananas because they say these guys, they were inspired by ISIS. ISIS did it. ISIS did it. Excuse me. Aren't they Muslims? Doesn't that mean Islam did it? Maybe I'm casting a little wider net than most, okay? But I'm just asking the pertinent question. How many others were literally cheering them on, okay? Regardless, these the two guys that tried to bomb whatever, with whatever devices they rigged up were absolute yahoos in any language, okay, in any religion or in any community, in any culture. These guys are really, they're real jokesters. So yeah. Anyway, as far as terrorist bombings, this like it's like the Harl, not the Laurel and Hardy Boys or whatever. I don't know. It's a joke, okay? It's an absolute farce. There's probably cartoons made of it somewhere already. Because they look. It was so obvious. It was so silly. It was such a setup. The one guy is standing there talking about how that people have to stand up to Muslims and have to stand up for Christianity in New York, and that outsiders essentially come in here telling us what to do. And the guy runs up and throws it right over his shoulder. Like on cue. It's like, damn. 3, 2, 1. I mean, the timing was perfect. You couldn't have orchestrated it any better if you were trying to. That's all I'm trying to say. Okay? What else we got going on here? Yes, in Malta. Is it Malta? Maybe a Maltese man. Yeah, but I don't think he was there. I think he was, yeah. Jonathan Turley, jonathanturley.org. I like a lot of his articles. He talks about the prosecution of a Maltese man for discussing transition from homosexuality. I mean, really. Okay. Anyway, the crackdowns on free speech in the UK, Germany, France, are often the focus of columns in news and other publications, Turley says. However, a recent case shows that smaller countries like Malta have joined this effort with a repressive vigor. Turley points out. Fortunately, the prosecution of Matthew Grech, 33, ended in an acquittal, but not for the lack of by the government. The case should shock everyone by conscience. Anyway, the guy faced 5 months in prison, €5,000 fine. After he discussed his own history, abandoning a homosexual lifestyle to become a born-again Christian. Amen. Not only did the government prosecute him for discussing his life, but also charged the journalists Mario Camerlo and Rita Bonici for interviewing him. It was a full frontal attack on free speech and free press in Malta. The prosecution was brought under Malta's Affirmation of Sexual Orientation, Gender, and Gender Expression Act. The law makes it a crime to perform or advertise practices aimed at changing or suppressing a person's sexual orientation or gender. Grech was the first to be prosecuted under the LGBTQ laws. Activists filed criminal complaints against him following the interview. Why? Why? Is heresy of stopping homosexual activity? Oh my God! I mean, that is so fucking ridiculous. Okay, but that's wow. That's such a militant style of gay and lesbian doctrine, I guess you would call it. That's almost sounds like the LGBTQ's community is picking up stuff from like the Muslim community that if you leave us, you're a heretic and you will be cast into the fires of hell. And then, God will probably reach down and grab you by the hand and pull you out and say, thank you, son, for standing up. Man, I am telling you, the country of Malta still criminalizes programs that seek to help those who want to transition from homosexual practices or lifestyles. In my view, such programs should be considered under free speech, religious, and associated rights, Turley says. However, I guess, when you live in a... God, that's just crazy, isn't it? That's just crazy. Does that mean that the gay and lesbian sons of bitches, does that mean that they cannot proselytize the gay and lesbian and homosexual lifestyles to people who are heterosexual? And encourage people to transition from their heterosexual lifestyle to a homosexual lifestyle? How dare them? I mean, isn't it quite, the hypocrisy just reeks, doesn't it? It's rank, man. You can smell it the whole way from Malta, from Pennsylvania, if you were there. But I'm not. Anyway. Oh my God. I mean, that's just crazy, isn't it? Absolutely. U.S. intelligence community assessed, of course, that's old. I don't know why that's even over there. I talked about it yesterday, about how much pain, how much power, how long, and how much pressure it would take for the Iranians to cry, Uncle Donnie! Uncle Donnie! Donald Trump said a day or two ago, he says, I can't believe they haven't cried uncle yet. Oh man, I'm just surprised that he's that naive about humans in general, okay? And how the culture and everything else ingrained into us. And that while we can put a veneer across the top of it, okay, we can hide it for a little bit. We can put some wallpaper on it. We can slap some paint on it. But eventually the truth bleaches through. And it doesn't matter what culture it is, the truth and the reality of that culture comes through, okay? It is crazy. And remember, these cultures, exist, not just in countries and, in religions and races and everything. we have all these different culture tiers, and it's like you box check your way up to whatever. And some people just throw it all aside and decide they're not going to check boxes. So yeah. Anyway. Where are we at here? Oh yeah. Okay. Well, I know you may not like, a lot of people just can't stand the truth. But yeah, sometimes we'll skip on this one. We'll skip on that one for a few minutes. But yeah. So anyway, there has been a constitutional carry bill introduced into Congress that essentially, I think that's a really good thing. Okay, I mean that's a damn good thing, because if listen, states, liberal states are trying to steal your constitutional rights. They're stealing your liberties, and they don't care. As long as they can command and demand whatever you want, they will, what's the best way to say it? They will push the envelope until you have been absorbed into the hive mind. Democrats truly are like a Borg and a blob and everything else, and they pull you in, and they absorb everything around you, and there you are. You can't have autonomy to have freedom. These are the things that are happening, all around. So anyway, here's a clip. Here's a clip from Facebook. Do a lot of clips. I see some reels on Facebook, and a lot of them are apt to what we're talking about.
And drive my car across every single state in America. That license works everywhere. Driving isn't even a constitutional right. It's a privilege. But if I carry a firearm for self-defense, the second I cross a state line, suddenly I'm treated like a criminal. How does a privilege work nationwide, but a constitutional right doesn't? Apparently, someone in Washington is finally trying to address exactly that problem, because Senator Mike Lee just introduced a bill that would allow Americans to carry firearms across state lines without needing permission from each individual state. Here's how the legislation is being described. Senator Mike Lee of Utah introduced on Thursday the National Constitution Carry Act in the Senate to remove nationwide the need to get the government's permission before carrying a handgun for self-defense. Now pause for a second, because this right here highlights one of the biggest hypocrisies in American law. In America today, whether you can legally carry a firearm often depends entirely on what side of a state line you're standing on. Think about that. The Constitution is supposed to apply to the entire country, not just certain states, not just certain cities, not just certain political jurisdictions, but somehow Second Amendment rights magically change the moment you cross a border. And here's the part that most people don't even realize. You can do everything right as a gun owner. You can pass background checks. You can buy the firearm legally, follow federal transportation laws. You check your gun with the airline exactly how you're supposed to. You land in the wrong state though, and they can arrest you the moment you step off the plane. Not because you used the gun, not because you threatened anyone, just for possessing it. That's what we're talking about here. And that's exactly why Senator Lee framed the issue this way. If you're legally allowed to have a gun, you shouldn't have to get any government's permission to carry it, any more than you should have to get permission to speak. My bill is necessary to protect Americans' fundamental right to bear arms. Who's with me? That comparison there is the key. Because imagine if the First Amendment worked.
Absolutely. Listen, we, for too long, liberal states have literally flaunted the Constitution. They have racked and packed and stacked with illegal immigrants so they can hijack the U.S. House the U.S. House of Representatives. Okay, there should be 35 U.S. House seats that, let's just say, are not Democratic. Okay, right now, even without doing a recensus, a lawsuit that was recently heard and recently said that it's 18, just using a misappropriation of statistical analysis with having one high and having one low. Democrats were literally able to steal 15 to 18 U.S. House seats, and that's even after racking and packing and stacking 10 to 25 million illegal immigrants on top of green card holders and other people that are essentially, here in the United States, illegally, I might add. And they don't have to commit crimes, and they don't have to vote, even though now that there has been more in-depth investigations into voter fraud in America, things are starting to, unravel. Okay, that's what I would tell you. Now, the FBI has now moved on to Arizona, where the FBI has seized the ballots from one county in Arizona. And that it's a continuing and expanding voter fraud investigation. One of the, there are bits and pieces of this stuff being exposed, but I don't know if they'll really, I don't know how and who they can hold accountable for all of the fake and the phony ballots that were sent or delivered to a processing a ballot processing facility. All I'm trying to say is chain of custody of ballots that appear out of nowhere. Nobody can be. Nobody can. How should I say this? Nobody can be prosecuted because those ballots literally appeared out of nowhere, and even under investigations, you have people that might roll in suitcases, and they might be put under tables, and they might be brought out later after other people leave, okay, when there might be, a water break or something. There's all kinds of strange things that have happened in our elections, okay? Somebody called me, and now I wasn't aware until literally this past couple weeks, that the contractor that prints the ballots for the Georgia elections, Runbeck. Runbeck's main facility is where? It's in Arizona. And when they printed the runoff ballots, they were printed in Arizona and sent through the Postal Service and then via UPS to Georgia. December 1st and the December 2nd. That was for the runoff election. Okay. So, yeah. The real crux of the problem is they're finding in Wisconsin, they're finding in Minnesota, and they're finding in other Democrat-run states, okay, where, how should I say this, where impossible numbers of people registered and voted literally on the day before and the day of the vote. Literally, 20,000 people. I'm trying to remember if it was Wisconsin or Michigan. Wisconsin, Michigan, or Minnesota, one of those states. They had registered a whole shitload of people in the last 2 days. And, and none of those, what they did was, I don't think they verified any of those quote unquote new voters. Now, the way this was found, if I remember right, the way this was found was that, when they validate the vote, to check it against the voter database to make sure that person's registered to vote or is a valid voter. Because they literally, some of these Democrat states, they will send ballots out to previous addresses, multiple ballots for the same person at different addresses. Okay. I mean, that's kind of bizarre. Like you're asking people to pick them up and fill them out and drop them in a box somewhere. It's bananas, but it sounds like it. Okay. Democrats have sued Trump over his workaround. That's right, his workaround for the tariffs. I think I talked about that yesterday. I'm seeing a lot of repetition here from the other day. Wow. Anyway, Jesse Jackson's son. Yeah, I talked about Jesse Jackson's son. He came out yet again, and I think, and ripped politicians for turning his dad's funeral into some campaign event. And it is this wholly disrespectful. Okay, really is. It's wholly disrespectful. Man, we're just gonna go over here and hit. We'll start with this side. Okay. Oh, let's see. Confusion about the war in Iran between Trump and Hegseth and whatever. Okay. Now, the price of oil was going up, and Donald Trump come out, I think, yesterday afternoon and said that the war is very complete. It is almost finished, and we have pretty much completed what we were trying to do. That was Donald J. Trump, okay? He says, he says it went very soon, but not this week. He also predicted that oil prices had surged to above $100 a barrel for fears of the Hormuz Strait would remain effectively closed. Trump says that will end. That will drop. There are, how should we say it? There are questions and there are things. Donald Trump said that those tankers should be brave, that they're courage, and they should be courageous and push right through the strait. Yeah, that's what Donald Trump said. He says their courage will protect them. He also did say that the U.S. Navy would be there. Now, could they protect the shipping, the vessels? I don't know. I don't know how long of a corridor that the U.S. Navy could keep open because it's a pretty long zone there that you have to keep open. But anyway, so yeah, I just I don't see Iran giving up. The Khomeini's son, which was supposedly has taken over. This is like the third leader of Iran, I think, since the Khomeini died, and then his successor died, and then his son has taken over now. And I mean, I think the second command lasted like 2 hours before they whacked him. Anyway, so yeah, Pete Hegseth said, this is going to be a continuing operation. Yeah. And when you're and then was it Hegseth? I think it was Pete Hegseth stood there somewhere and was talking and said that we, the United States of America, was essentially fighting for Israel. Okay, fighting Israel's war. That's a sad thing. We shouldn't be fighting Israel's war. They're already superior enough. Shouldn't they be dying for themselves? I mean, I'm just saying, all right? The Israel is run by a bunch of Zionists, a bunch of crooks, man. I'm telling you. God, I mean, I'm sure there's some good Jews somewhere. But Zionists, these international Zionists are no different than the international Zionists that want to create the New World Order or the One World Order. Yeah. As long as they control all the money, they don't care. God, that sounds familiar from someplace, doesn't it? Yeah. Anyway. So, yeah. The election to replace Marjorie Taylor Greene highlights the Republican turbulence that is going on within the party right now. Well, that's what happens when you. That's what happens when you. What shall you want to say that? That's what happens when you lie. Democrats in Virginia, they're getting ready to get their ass handed to them, okay? And, it's a sad thing because the governor, the CIA psychological operator governor, is a lying sack of horse shit here in Virginia. Democrats are getting ready to find that out. Republicans are finding it out too. That people have had it up to here, up over their heads with the monopoly system of the Democrats and the Republicans literally passing the people back and forth like they're an effing party favor, okay? Like we the people don't matter. Like we the people are an afterthought of their control of our government. It's our government, not the Republicans and not the Democrats' government. And this monopoly, if you want to see how destructive monopolies are, take a good look at all of the states that have a political monopoly. And, listen, we really only have a Democrat political monopolies from what I see. Now, I think it might be Nebraska. Is it Nebraska? Might be one of the few, bastions of real conservatism in America. I'm trying to I think it was Nebraska. There's some voting base, okay, and voting for a long time. But anyway, Democrats have created plantations in the states that they operate. From Maine to Pennsylvania, or I should say Maine to New York. There's 6, 7 states up there. Every one of them have about a 40 to 45% Republican conservative leaning base in that state, and they have zero representation. That's what a monopoly does, okay? That's the monopoly map here in Virginia, where Democrats want to turn from 5 to 6 in a split in U.S. House seats, Republican versus Democrat, monopoly versus monopoly, okay? It's a really fucked up situation, let me tell you. But Democrats want to have 10-1 here in Virginia. Okay, and they're claiming because of what the balancing act that happened down in Texas. So you have your state politicians literally running the operations of a corporate monopoly. Now, last I knew, it didn't matter if it was Big Bell, AT&T, Google. And last I knew, monopolies were the antithesis of, a free capitalist society. Are we supposed to have not to have real choices on the ballots? Not off the ballots, on the ballots, where it matters. I have said before, in every election, and not listen, a primary is not an public election. Let's start with that, since it's retard season is upon us, okay? And we have primaries already happening. Understand, they're private corporations are picking their contestants for the election, okay? That's all it is. It's not a public process. It's not a public anything. It is two corporations that have bamboozled the minds of everybody. Republican and Democrat primary. It's, it's a dog and pony show that you have been sucked into. And they lie to you. Both sides, Democrats and Republicans, they lie to you year after year and pass you back and forth, as I said before, like a party favor, okay? It's bizarre. That's what I'll say, okay? That the American people continue to be psychologically locked in. Remember, Democrats and Republicans, they let's just say, if they're not sucking up the whole entire news cycle, man, they aren't really, wow, they're not sucking up jack shit, in all honesty. It's a crazy, sad, idiotic thing, man. It really is. So, I really feel bad, okay? While the world is at war, DARPA finds time to unveil the X-76 plane. Now, that is not the top secret, hypersonic plane that's shaped like a triangle. It's not that one. I forget what they call it. Aurora, I think they call that one. This is basically a jet. How they have the Osprey vertical takeoff helicopters, okay? Well, now they have incorporated within the vertical takeoff a jet engines. So they are now able to get the speed, to get the lift capability to fly heavy, at I guess almost sonic speeds. Okay. So yeah, that's really crazy. Certainly is. Anyway, here's this story. I talked about earlier. Now the subpoena to Arizona is a broader scope of the investigation into irregularities in the 2020 election. Don't forget, we had the big audit in 2016 in the Arizona elections, okay? So, yeah, the multiple controversies in the Arizona elections where nearly 2/3 of Arizonans live in basically Maricopa County. Okay, has been the center of multiple controversies and an unsuccessful litigation by multiple Republican campaigns. The grand jury probe indicates a wider investigation. In January, the FBI raided Fulton County, Georgia, covers the broader Atlanta area, as part of a criminal investigation into potential violations of federal law. Concerned citizens discovered a plethora of problems in the county's 2020 elections. Again, what is happening is, since they got by in 2016, and they said, well, there wasn't enough fraud, blah, blah, blah. So what they're saying is we use the same processes and we seize the same things. If it was a fair and equal election then, it's a fair and equal election now. Even though they stretch and they morph and they drop and they alter all kinds of shit that they do to these ballots, okay? When you alter machine counted ballots and then you alter the machine default settings, the default safety settings, okay, where multiple ballots will be flagged, okay, or ballots that are not printed on the correct paper or have the correct security features and stuff like that, okay, that those are not, those were turned off. The electronic signature reader to match what was in the documents or what was in the database, okay? Understand that a lot of those were essentially, they weren't turned off. But instead of being at a high efficiency rate, they were literally dumbed down to only 10 or 15% efficiency rate, because when they ran it at full security of the auto reader, what happened was it kicked a whole bunch. It was kicking everything out. So what they did was they turned the default settings down to dumbed it down. So, so at one point where even somebody signed their signature in like a block letters, right? That counted as a signature, okay? So, in scribbles and everything, and you can't read or you can't see. And, some of this stuff is done, there's so many votes, it's done so automatically, it's not even funny, okay? Really, it's pathetic. So, these automated voting systems are, you can game them, you can cheat them, okay? I don't know if there's a system out that can't be cheated, but as me, I'm like a hand ballot, optical reader. You got a ballot here and you got an optical readout, and you can, you don't have hundreds of thousands or millions of mail-in ballots. Damn it. I'm sorry. Something happening here. Getting cross-eyed. Hard to see. Sorry. I don't know why. But anyway. Let's see. Man, I just don't know why that. It seems like all of my stories from yesterday I already talked about. Well, anyway, what else we got going on here? Under federal pressure, more gender clinics halt procedures on minors. Well, no shit. Okay, please. Can we stop mutilating children that are confused about their sexuality? Can we give them a chance to grow to be adults to then decide if they choose to change their sexuality? I'm just saying. I'm just asking. Okay. Of course, Donald Trump had put out a executive order to stop gender. What do you want to call it? Gender transition surgeries. Okay. Now, listen. Truth is, only a few have shut down. Okay. Half a dozen clinics announced that they would pause or discontinue some treatment programs for minors, according to hospital announcements. Now, we also know that Leetta James in New York ordered the how should I say it? Ordered hospitals in the state to continue their gender surgeries and gender transitioning treatments. No matter, I guess, no matter what age a kid is. That's sad. Anyway, so man, this stuff is crazy. I'm sorry. I mean, you can really teach a person to be almost anything, can't you? I guess the break's going on at Rev Radio. I guess I have to let me shut off my microphone, and hopefully that won't mute the other streams. But yeah. Anyway, so lots of stuff happening and going down, man. It is sheer crazy. Here is, Florida. There's always enough crazy in Florida, but evidently crazy took a trip to Disney World, Florida. That's right, or not Disney World, California. Excuse me. Okay, streets of Los Angeles, man. Horrified discovery as 911 gets a call. Send an ambulance! Quick! Send the cops! Oh my God! Yes, a man bled to death in downtown Los Angeles along the street. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he wanted it to end that way, but why he would cut off his penis and stab himself in the neck? Okay. And he tried to cut off his own arm, too. Now, he could have been hallucinating from trank or some other street drug that a lot of times what that stuff does is it makes you think you have critters on you or spots on you. My Yeah, man. I know a friend that had problems with some women friends of his, and I guess they would see a piece of dirt and they would think it was a spider or a bug or whatever, when they were geeking or freaking. I'm not sure which, but they were torching his marble he installed. He lays tile and stuff. And I have to hand it to him. He is a great craftsman. Does a lot of good work, man. And but yeah, man, these freaks were burning his shit up because they were hallucinating, seeing spiders and stuff on everything. It's like, damn. Yeah. Anyway, some intense strikes in Iran, as in the last couple, in the last 6 hours, they've sent some of the hardest strikes that they've literally been hit with so far. Okay. Death toll, they said 11 in Israel, 397 in Lebanon, and 1,230 in Iran. They said it seems awful low for all the bombing and all the destruction. And, when you look at the Gaza Strip, and you see the Gaza Strip and 140 square miles, basically Brooklyn wiped to the ground. Okay, I mean just destroyed. Um, that it's such a big area that it's hard to quantify all the damage in Iran. Okay, that's why I think that's another reason why they bombed the oil fields, because then everybody could see and everybody could look at the oil plume and everything would get oily and greasy and everything else from the shit that falls to the ground, man. But yeah, it is sheer crazy, is what I would say. Iranian officials say they have been forced to withdraw from the Paralympic Games. I remember the Paralympic Games, the Winter Paralympics. He couldn't travel safely to Italy due to the Iran war. Cross-country skier Abul Kahibi. I'm sorry about your name, brother. But evidently, he's a Paralympian, and he had earned the right, I guess, to represent Iran at the Winter Games. However, they also might be, deciding not to send some of those people because some members of the Iranian volleyball team, I think it is, do want asylum, and they don't want to go back to Iran. Okay, because it's in the middle of a war, it's a repressive state. It's almost like Dearborn, Michigan. I mean, no, I don't think quite as bad, but because you can drive through and get out of Dearborn, it's hard to drive through and get the hell away, get out of Iran, I guess. So remember, fuel prices are going to rise across the entire region. Okay, not just here in the U.S. or wherever. Oil prices are going up 20% worldwide, and it's let's just say it is hurting a lot of people everywhere. Um, China isn't. China has been. If you haven't noticed, if you've been watching, China has been quiet as a church mouse. Okay, because they haven't said anything because they got their eye on Taiwan. Donald Trump said under his watch that he knows that they would never dare, they would never would get Taiwan. Hey, sorry about that, Rev Radio. I got caught up talking about China, Taiwan, and the Middle East and all that stuff. Hope y'all are doing well. God bless you. Oh, yeah, let's see what else all we got going down here. Man, I am telling you, the world is flipping out. It's gone bonkers. And exactly why? Because of war everywhere. The Iranian Republican Guard says Iran, not U.S., not the United States, will determine the war's end as Donald Trump threatens strikes 20 times harder if the Hormuz transit is blocked. Hegseth, the Department of War leader, Pete Hegseth, vows fresh briefing permanently to deny Iran nuclear weapons forever. Well, I would be. I wouldn't run my mouth about a lot of stuff before you do it, I guess is what I'm saying, okay? And the fact is, it would not surprise me if Pakistan, comes to the defense of Iran, okay? And whether it is with or without the hand of Russia, nuclear weapons already assembled, ready to go, make their way into Iran, piece by piece. And then maybe the world will wake up to the madness, to the edge of the madness that they're standing on. Now, I don't know why, but I got a feeling something is up about Cuba, because it's they pushed it out of the news cycle the last few days. And of course, don't forget last week, it was alleged that these were just civilians from Miami, Cuban expats that were trying to go back and to, how should we say it, to go back to Cuba and cause war. Okay, start a Bay of Pigs style guerrilla invasion, blowing up the rest of the infrastructure that worked. Okay, so yeah, it's crazy. Okay, wow. Let's see, diversity wars. Man, tone deaf as hell. That's what I'll say. In Richmond, Virginia, a pro-Palestinian mural. I talked about it briefly before, but it's getting more and more backlash, okay? It's a Free Palestine mural on the side of a building. Has a black woman eaten watermelon. Okay? Yeah. Well, listen, we're talking about Democrats in Virginia. Okay? They're tone deaf. They are still a bunch of racist, racist and everything else. Okay? So, yeah. Anyway, it's bananas. That's what I'll say. So, anyway, a woman eating watermelon that says Free Palestine in the middle of a black neighborhood. Okay? I mean, if that's not, look, and this is what, listen, we got a white governor. We got, an attorney general that would literally murder his political opponents in front of their children. We have a pretty fucked up state right now here in Virginia. It really is. And Dr. Fateh Tota, a professor of Virginia Commonwealth University, VCU, explained the watermelon's role in the Palestinian activism. The Palestinian flag has 4 colors: red, white, black, and green, which also happens to be the color of a slice of a watermelon, Toast says. Get the fuck out of it. God, man. Dude, don't people get it? I guess, listen, this is cultural racism, and a cultural construct where people don't give a flying fuck what you think or don't think. They're going to do what they want to do and they don't care. And if you're curious, if you're wondering if Well, I hope not. Maybe it was a few minutes ago. I'll have to go back there and check. What the hell am I got going on here? All right, let's check Rev Radio. Let's see. Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, no, I listen. For a couple minutes over on Rev Radio, I had it muted. I accidentally muted. And it looks like I'm appear to be on. I'm voice connected. So if they're muting me, well, that's me. That's them. I don't know. I can't say. But I was just looking at some of these things over here on my yeah. Anyway, yeah, Palestinians are yeah, they don't give a shit. You know, really, it's a lot like huh. Well, let's see. No, it's not that one, is it? No. Oh, why in the hell do I have all that shit up there? Huh. Well, okay. Dang nabbit, man. Facebook has been giving me a rash and a shit lately. I just wanted to tell you that. Yeah. This that is weird. Huh. That is anyway. Should have been a link to something else there, but I didn't see it. So anyway, it's crazy what we got going down here today. Don't forget, if you got the COVID vaccine, if you got that clot shot, if you are, you should be aware of exactly what you have. What you have going down. Okay, here's truth.
Emergency room physician with not one single patient complaint against me in those 31 years. I was fired for saying that somebody who had natural immunity didn't need to be vaccinated against a disease to which they were already immune. Fortunately, I still had my medical license, even though I had lost a significant part, at least 50% of my income, and I couldn't work as an emergency room doctor anymore. I still had my private practice.
Wow.
So when I discovered from the biodistribution studies that Pfizer had hidden, that we knew that these vaccines go around your entire body, they do not just stay in your arm. Pfizer's biodistribution studies on the lipid nanoparticles show that they literally take those messenger RNA strands into every part of your body. They go into your brain and your lungs and your heart and your liver and your reproductive organs and your bone marrow and everywhere. Which is, by the way, why these COVID shots have caused a greater array of side effects than any other medical treatment in history. Because this toxic spike protein ends up in literally every part of
every part of you. And, you know, they don't give a shit, okay? They don't care. As long as it's just like this insensitive shit in Virginia. Here, I found that, I got that straight now. I don't know why, but I got that straight finally. It's sheer crazy. Check this out.
Now to Richmond's north side, a new mural is sparking a major conversation. This artwork aims to support Palestine, but it's left some African-American community leaders scratching their heads. Taylor Bryan explains live at 5.
Now, I talked to different Black community leaders in Richmond, and they say that they don't have a problem with the message of the mural, just the watermelon imagery. At the intersection of Brooklyn Boulevard and North Avenue sits this mural. It's a dark-skinned Palestinian woman holding a slice of watermelon, and the seeds spell Free Palestine. With so many Black Richmonders upset, we decided to catch up with the artist behind this controversial mural to have him explain more about it.
Hi, I'm Edward Sprague, and I'm the artist behind the
white guy.
unfortunately controversial mural of what appears to be black woman eating a giant watermelon. However, I would just like to say, first off, she's not black. People
She's
from
not
Gaza are
black.
not black. They're just dark skinned. It's sunny.
She's not black. It's just dark skin. Oh man, listen to this. Listen. It is. First off, let's be honest. It's absolutely fucking ridiculous. Okay. That they used watermelon imagery on that because what the guy said. Oh yeah, that's right. Because the colors of the watermelon are the same colors of the Palestinian flag. Then put a flag up there, you dumb asses. I mean, really. Sorry, puppy. That's just sheer crazy, man. That is just sheer crazy. What happens and what goes down? It's I don't know why people have lost their effing minds. They really, I mean, I don't know why. People have become, well, crazies. I think it's the internet. Because with the internet right at your hand, you don't have to remember anything. You don't have to really know anything to become a half-assed quasi-expert about something until you have to do it. And then, particularly if it's something like finishing drywall, okay? Yeah, it kind of looks easy, and, I know I had somebody tell me they knew how to do it, and they didn't know the first thing. They were trying to learn on the job. They said it looked easy, and blah, blah, blah. They do it while I went to lunch, and, man, I just should have took them to lunch instead of have them screw it up the way they did. Well, anyway. Oh, imagine that. A record. That's right. The United States set a record. Childhood obesity surge puts the MAHA health goals in focus. Yes, of course, if you eat all the carbohydrates, if you eat all the starches, if you eat all the sugars and all the goodies, you're going to get fat. Okay? I'm just saying. The food pyramid is, well, it should have been inverted, okay? You should have more meats and proteins than carbohydrates and the rest of down the way, okay? I'm just saying it's just logical. That's not the way I grew up because of the institutionalized food system. And, people saying, look, you got to put this amount of portion on this plate of this and this amount of portion on this place of this. And, it's like 3 pieces, 1/3 or whatever across your plate. And I'm like, yeah, but none of that matters. And, it matters to a point, but, in the end, you got to eat till you're full. You have satiety, right? Or you quit having the munchies, and those are always another that's another level of problem. God bless. But if you can't control, hand to mouth, if you don't have that control, it's hard to lose weight. Period. Okay. You got to be able to feel hungry. And, a lot of times that's, I don't, I don't want to feel hungry. I get a little hungry, I'll go eat something, and I shouldn't, but I do. And, so, we all, if we can take all the drugs in the world, but that's not going to change who we are. It takes us to change who we are, to make our lives better. The age of better living through chemistry had, in the 1990s, led to the better age of living through genetic therapies. living genetically modified crops. Okay, I mean, come on. These Franken foods and these Franken medicines that they're pushing and plotting and they're putting in us. We're just starting to see the breakdown of the genetic structures into the future from COVID. Okay, that sounds strange, but if you think about it, you go back and you look about cancers and all this other stuff. A lot of this, the more they tried to treat it, almost the more it expanded. Okay, so there's always a question of is it the cure? Is the alleged cure the disease? That's why I question everything. And of course, parasites are I think 50% of the time they're confused by cancers and they kill the body with chemotherapy and the rest of that stuff. So it's just crazy. Okay. Let's see. The UK government plots another attempt to shut down Grok, the AI from Elon Musk and X, over what are offensive roasts of individuals and politicians, football players, and alike. I mean, you got to be kidding me, right? Grok can be prompted to produce insults and offensive language. The UK government are now looking for ways to penalize the platform. Well, imagine that, okay? Yeah, so the UK government is having a fit because Herr Starmer was essentially stripped naked and wearing a pink bikini. Yeah, and they had to fuzzy out the bikini in the picture. I mean, listen, if you're such that much of a sanitized, politically correct, a government-controlled news organization, then you're not a news organization any longer. You've essentially become a public media relations outlet for tyranny, for the government. Okay, that's where government is going. But they have to control everything, because if they don't, they will lose everything. Turkey intercepted a second missile. Remember, they're acting as a partner of NATO. So what they're trying to do is somehow, some way, they're trying to declare a war that will eventually, this might sound silly right now, but the war in Iran and the war in Ukraine will connect themselves. And that was pretty much, I think, the call that Vladimir Putin had with Donald Trump when he pretty much asked, "What the fuck are you doing?" That's why Donald Trump came out and said that this is, quote unquote, a limited excursion in Iran. Listen, you can't have a limited excursion and expect an empire to collapse and say Uncle Donnie. Okay, it just is not reality. But then again, Donald Trump is reacting. He's not acting as a leader. He's reacting as a leader to other provocations, and I believe blackmail. Now, everybody in the world will stand up and swear up and down it's not true, but everybody knows it is. that Jeffrey Epstein was an effing Mossad agent, that he worked with the CIA, the FBI, and that they're all one little effing club, and that they will protect the ones that worked for them. Because, if it comes out, when Obama says, well, it was all a massive conspiracy, they were going to take me out if I didn't do it. Talking about Brennan and Clapper and Comey. But at the same time, Barack Obama, Barry Sorrento, is an illegitimate president to start with. So people don't understand now. Just as, people didn't, if you would have told people the day after JFK was killed that the CIA did it in partnership with the mafia, and that the now acting president, Lyndon Baines Johnson, was essentially installed by the intelligence community, we may have had a second American Civil War right there. Right then. But instead, the government, of course, lied to the people because the people had a belief and authority that the government was telling them the truth. It essentially wasn't but 40 years later, on 9/11, 2001, that the American people were set up and lied to again, traumatized again. Lots of action in between that. But those two events essentially sealed the deal for the security state, and that they took full and total control. It's not like they didn't have almost control, full control then. I mean, all the puppet presidents that we have had, Democrat and Republican, that literally sold out America to the New World Order, to the deep state, and such a cabal around us that we never knew it. Really, that we never knew it. Now, because of shortage of personnel at the TSA, airports are telling people that there are going to be long delays. That for some reason or another, that there are how should we say it, significant delays happening in major airports, up to 3 hours long to get checked in and to get through security. Okay? Oh, man. Wow. Man, I'm sorry, getting a major headache in the front of my frontal lobe right now. But anyway, yeah, it is crazy. Okay, it is crazy, and it has been confirmed. It has been confirmed that several different vessels have claimed to be Chinese and have moved through the Hormuz Strait. Now, that's not every ship that has been waiting. Most, I think, are still sitting at anchor and are not trying to move. Okay. So yeah. What else we got here? Antifa activist. A social Marxist, set himself on fire and literally burned the living shit out of himself trying to burn an American flag. Yeah, he literally torched himself, man. Check this out.
Oh, what an idiot.
Wow.
It's a full-on fire. Here, let's look at it at the beginning again. Look.
Oh, what an idiot. Wow.
Yeah, anyway, so listen, I mean, listen, if you're out here burning flags, I mean, if you're out here doing that stuff, guess what? You know, you're committing, you're making a low-level action, and what you're doing is you're setting yourself up for bigger actions. It's just human nature, all right? It's basically, it's like when you're kids and if you steal packs of gum, or you steal candy, or you steal a bottle of soda or something, you know, from the market, you never get caught. So what happens is you will eventually try to steal something else that is much more valuable, and you may or may not get caught. In California, Representative Swalwell, that's right, Swalwell is having a hard time running for governor, because everybody wants to know, does he really live in California, or does he just keep an address here? His primary residence is in Washington, D.C., despite representing large portions of California in Congress. Now that he's running for the California governor, his apparent on-paper only California residency is under scrutiny from fellow Democrats. He should just say, look, I ain't no different than some illegal Latino. What the difference does it make? I mean, really, what difference does it make? I mean, there's so many illegal immigrants in California. One more carpetbagger from Washington, D.C. won't matter, will it? I'm just saying. Anyway, it's crazy. Tom Steyer, left-wing billionaire donor who is also running for the Democrat nomination for governor, called on California Secretary of State Shirley Weber to enforce the state's residency requirements. Oh, Lord have mercy. How could that fucking be? A residency? You mean the gentrification of California? I thought any illegal immigrant can squat and poop anywhere in California. Or is that just San Francisco? I'm just asking. It's absolutely, ridiculous, okay? His law firm address in Sacramento has a candidate intention statement, but yeah, listen, this guy is just like the rest of the politicians. He's so attached to the money pit that Washington, D.C. is, that he cannot divorce himself from it at any part, okay? And, he might as well bring back Fang Fang just to show that he still loves to eat a little Chinese now and then or something. I mean, really. Absolute just stupidity. Stupidity going on there. I mean, really. Look, 89 arrested in a Florida human trafficking operation. Suspects arrested allegedly believe they were communicating with underage victims. And they were going to take them out and take them down. Imagine that. Sheriff's Office announced this week an undercover operation led to 89 human and sex trafficking related arrests. resulting in 1,200 separate felony charges. Hillsborough County, Florida, indicates the Tampa metro area. Their operation was carried out over several weeks, targeted individuals seeking to sexually exploit children and buy sex. Suspects allegedly believe they were communicating with underage victims. So this is basically, I'm an underage 17-year-old, girl, blah, blah, blah. And men are trying to attack her, rape them, use them, and whatever. Yeah. Round them all up. Maybe they can be like the guy they found in the streets in Los Angeles. Dead. Well, I don't know if he was dead when they got there, but it was a bloody mess. He killed himself. Yeah. I mean, if you're going to kill yourself, stab yourself in the neck. I can see. And if you're crazy enough, and if you're tranking or whatever that shit was that makes you see that stuff on your skin, if you're chopping your arm off, that's reason. But by God, don't cut your pecker off. Whatever you do, I mean, unless I guess you're just trying to your own self-destruction. God, man. Anyway, what? Man, 42-year-old Peter Torres arrested and a child recovered. A 2-year-old after it received a tip that it was being exploited. A 2-year-old? Oh, man. I'm sorry. I'll be quiet because, sex crimes, particularly against children, well, kind of hard to go anywhere up from or down from there. I mean, you're already at the bottom of the pit. Might as well just start throwing dirt in. Well, look at that. After 144 years in New Jersey, Exxon asked shareholders to move back to Texas to cut the cost of litigation. Yes, Texas, the Texas redomiciliation, if that's a thing. People and corporations moving back to Texas and using Texas corporate law instead of using New Jersey or Delaware is one of the favorite places where people like to hold their articles of incorporation. Evidently, moving back to Texas is now having some positive protections for these companies. Anthropic sues the Pentagon over supply chain risk designation. That's right. After Anthropic lost its big-ass government contract, it has been called problematic, a risk. AI developer Anthropic sued the Department of War March the 9th, following federal government's designation of the company as a supply chain risk. The designation hinders government agencies and their contractors from working with Anthropic. The suit comes after the company refused to change the user policy for its AI tools, or AI tool named Claude. Claude to allow government to use it for what Anthropic described as mass surveillance and fully autonomous weapons. The Pentagon has denied that it planned to use Claude for such purposes. Look, who do I believe? I believe Anthropic. I don't believe the federal government. I believe they already conduct mass surveillance. This is why they want to have all the data centers to run, number one, to run all the AI the AI through everybody's life, and then also to run all of the robots. I mean, really, come on. Fully autonomous weapons platforms that kill people, that are identified. Oh, absolutely. Government, I believe government already has them. I mean, they're not, it's not too hard to create a weapon that has sensors, infrared sensors, and say shoot everything that's within a temperature range. Just hope it's not 98 degrees or 90 degrees, and the metal or whatever it is isn't 98 degrees body temperature. AI might shoot it all up. You don't know. Well, no, it won't. And we've already experimented with that. We already know that. We've already war gamed that, okay? In the Aberdeen, Maryland Army Proving Grounds, okay? We have already had tactical demonstrations of AI and robotic capabilities to literally try to go into battle, okay? They're developing all kinds of anti-weapon systems, like a counterblast shield, laser basically that will cut a warhead in half before it hits the Humvee and shit. All kinds of crazy stuff that is happening. Do we believe the government at this point? No, you cannot. You can't believe Donald Trump and his team. You can't believe, Barack Obama. You can't believe Joe Biden. The truth is, you cannot believe any government official today. Because first off, half the time they're not even in the loop. They don't even know what the hell is going on. They're so concerned about running their own little program. That's where Barack Obama, he was the only thing he concentrated on was healthcare. That's where he took all of his goodwill that he supposedly had. That, and he bombed a bunch of people. I mean, I think Obama bombed less people than Trump. But more people than the CIA did under whatchamacallit. Yeah. So anyway, crazy, silliness, idiocracy, all, everywhere, man. I am telling you. So Anthropic is, exposing what the government wants to do. And we already know that the government collects everything. The government uses algorithms on social media to replace what they used to do with the televisions, because there's such a small audience in the TV world today compared to those that carry, their brainwashing device, their little brainwashing device with them. So yeah. Anyway, the government is hell bent on doing this. They're hell bent on doing it because they harkens back to Fabianism. Okay. The Fabian society and the culture in the UK that they developed on, basically how to change society over, how to educate, manipulate, and direct, to direct society over and over and over for years. And this is what the British government has evolved into. Now, in the United States, I talked about this the other day. We called it Cloward and Piven. Because first off, if you'd have said, yeah, we're going to use the British model, Fabianism, and people would have looked at it and said, no, we've never been a monarchy. We don't have these ideas. We don't have that idea. But they decided to call it something else. But it truly is just the socialization, the manipulation of cultures over time by government. And this is what we have been living in, and this is what we have been experiencing. Because the things that our government is doing today, if it had done it 50, 70 years ago, it would not, let's just say, the world order would not allow it to happen the way it is, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So trust in government, in my opinion, is a zero. It's a flatlined, okay? Now, across the nation, I think 12 or 14% trust in Congress, okay? I mean, literally, herpes probably has a better reputation than the United States Congress, okay? I mean, when venereal disease has a higher approval rating than your government, you've got some dumbass voters, or you have people that are intelligent, that are well-meaning, that are well-thinking, and they've been lied to. They've been brainwashed. People have run confidence scams on them, political confidence scams like Abigail Spanberger here in Virginia, where she claimed to run as a moderate. And the first things they do is they try to gerrymander the entire state of Virginia. And introduce 50 new taxes on the people of Virginia. Okay? 50 new taxes. Or tax increases. Take your pick, And when they said that they were trying to make Virginia affordable, I just, I don't see it. I don't believe that they have. Okay? Yeah, it's a sad thing, man. Italy. Man, where is the mafia? At one time, the mafia in Italy was essentially the law, okay? They would keep the crime down because people were stealing from the mafia when they were stealing from somebody in the town. Well, nowadays in Italy, Italy jurisprudence has been eviscerated. It's in the toilet. It's fucking ridiculous, okay? Absolutely ridiculous. The Prime Minister of Italy, Meloni, she wants to know what in the hell are the people supposed to do. The Italian Prime Minister says the court rulings are blocking detention and deportation of a convicted gang rapist in Italy. That's why I said, where's the mafia? Where's the good old boys? Where's the people that, the man goes to visit and he ends up falling with the hogs? Okay? I guess maybe that's the biggest reason that Muslims hate hogs, is because, well, if they fall in, I don't even know if the hogs would eat them, but yeah, the hogs will eat anything. Hogs even eat pedophiles, from my understanding. I can't confirm nor deny that, but it's just, things that happen. So yeah, can you believe that? And remember when I talked about the other day, I was ridiculing the gay, lesbian, and feminist communities about how Muslims treat their men or Muslim treat their women, right? Okay. Now Maloney wants to know with this gang rapist and abuser and I don't think he's a murderer yet. Okay. But he was selling. After he got to Italy, he started selling drugs and make a living. I understand, but gang rape and all the and assault and battery and all this other stuff. Sorry, but they can't deport him. The judiciary says that you cannot deport this guy. And the women rights groups aren't even standing up against this guy. Why? Because he's a black migrant. I'll say it, black migrant. I'll say it, migrant. Okay. I mean, literally, what the hell is going on? Are women, and this is something I see, in the feminist community. I don't know why, but they believe that Muslims are a minority, and that Muslims, celebrate women's rights. And the truth is, Muslims celebrate repression of women. Okay. If you haven't figured that out by now, I mean, your mind is not very strong. It's really weak. Okay, it's just like this psychological war that is going on in Virginia, where the Virginia governor is telling people to vote for gerrymandering because Donald Trump talked about gerrymandering in Texas. And literally, saying Donald Trump said vote yes. Stop the gerrymandering. Well, to vote yes in Virginia is to codify the gerrymandering. It's not to stop it. Democrats claim it's a one-time thing, and I don't believe anything that Democrats or the professional political class says today, particularly those that were former CIA agents. Listen, if you worked for the CIA, first thing you should have to pass a lie detector test. Or maybe a waterboard test. And just because you're CIA, we got to make sure that we do it in the fashion that you guys understand. So maybe she should be waterboarded. Yeah. Well, somebody talked about the threshold that blew past everybody. And I didn't think about it until I read the article, and I said, yeah, that's a pretty important thing. That 2 Amazon data centers in the United Arab Emirates were struck with drones from the Iranian military. And also, another facility in Bahrain was hit was a nearby hit and damaged. Now, what this did was this took down some of the Amazon global infrastructure, and it was it was partly because the AI targeting systems that Iran is now using, and targeting systems that, of course, the U.S. and Israel are using. They're not really fighting this war. The generals aren't making the decisions. AI is. And AI has been ran the battlefield in the Gaza Strip, if you don't know it. or not. Okay? They really did. You had 70,000 Palestinians dead. You have the Jewish genocide going on of the Palestinians, which nobody wants to talk about. Mostly because they say they deserve it because somebody fought back or somebody attacked and somebody killed somebody. And the truth is, as I said before, every Palestinian should have stood there half naked with their hands up and let the Israeli military murder them, slaughter them in tens of thousands, blood spilt everywhere. And what does that show? That shows the heartless genocide of what Israel really is, okay? Israel and Islam are, satanic religions that believe that they are superior to you. That's not very American. That's what I would say. Well, anyway, the break's going on. So take care, Revolution Radio. We'll see you tonight. Don't forget tonight, 8 to 10 p.m., the Trump Assassination Files, live from Franklin County, Virginia, on Rev Radio and Rumble.com. God bless, good day, and good luck. So anyway, it is, we're out of revolution.radio. If you get a chance, go over there and check it out. Lots of good stuff going on. But lots of things that are happening and going down, man. And don't get snookered in, but don't lose. But don't be double faked out. I don't know what you want to call it. A double fake, a double agent, a double dish. Where you stand against something and you have to stand this, that, something else. It's crazy shit. Well, I got to get out here and try to do some stuff, and hopefully we'll get some stuff done. If not, well, it'll be here. It won't go anywhere. Take care, everybody. God bless you all. We'll see you tonight.